Hello and thanks for tuning in. This is my brand new channel. I'm going to focus on stuff with small engines like, boat motors, four-wheelers, old riding mowers. I do a lot of this kind of tinkering around in my free time, and I didn't want to confuse the audience of my other channel because I think most of them are more interested in the off-road stuff. That channel is called Four-Wheel Drive Departure, and I do, off-roading and trips and repairs on cars. So the first video on this channel is going to be the revival of this 1998 Yamaha Timberwolf. The story goes, the guy I bought it from bought it off a guy who tried to replace the top end of the engine, but he couldn't get it started after that, and everybody just kept telling me it would crank slow. So the guy I got it from bought a new starter thinking that was the problem, but it did the same thing. So I know there had been some talks about a timing being off, and when you tell me that in the ad, I'm thinking ignition timing, but it's not really adjustable on here unless you put something on wrong on the flywheel or the however these things spark. So, but I think what really happened is he got the cam timing wrong. So first thing I'm going to do is pull the cover off here, see if we can spin the crank over, and if he did get it off and it's hitting a valve or something, we're gonna have to pull the top end and see if there's any damage, like bent valves or something like that, because they were trying to crank it over with the starter. So let me get some tools and the lights, and we'll start tearing into this thing. So let's take this cover off. Yep. Right there, it stopped. So it made about a turn and a half, and then it hit. So it's definitely hitting the valve. We can see right there. Yep. Definitely hitting something there. So let's take some of this body work off, and there's a cover here that exposes the timing chain, and see, I think at this point we're probably going to start pulling the head off, because I know it's been cranked over with the timing wrong, and I'd like to get in here to see what damage has been done. Alright, now let's get this cylinder head off now. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these 4 head bolts off the top first. Now let's take the 2 Allens off right there, and then I think we'll have it. Top of the piston looks fine. But if you look closely, right there, there's a nick from the exhaust valve. I actually spun the crank around to this was at the bottom, and the cylinder looks brand new. Top of this, there's some dirt in here because it didn't have a spark plug in it. But there's no rust or anything. It all looks really good. I don't feel any, a little bit of side to side, but nothing worth writing home about. The cylinder head, though, did not survive. So the bigger valve, or the intake valve, oh, let me see. Yeah. The intake valve is closed. I got the cylinder head, so both valves are closed all the way. And you can feel the spring tension off. Let's see if I can do this so you can see. See that? It's not closing all the way. So that valve is definitely bent. And I believe that piston is just about on top dead center. And you can see the notch in the keyway is supposed to be facing straight up and down pretty much. That's where the alignment marks are. So it was, you know, really far out of whack. That's kind of what happens with Subarus and stuff when their timing belts go, or you get it out of time. Same thing happens, you whack a valve. Alright viewers, well, I'm back at it again. It's been a week. I got my new parts in the mail. I ordered I just went ahead and ordered a new cylinder head, and I think it's like a cheaper Chinese made one, which I know a lot of people probably tell me that was a stupid idea, but I tried finding a used good original head, but nobody had one. I went on eBay, all the ones I seen that said they were good, I looked at the pictures and you could see a big whack in the intake valve, and the valve was hung open. So I think, you know, that was a pretty common problem for these, is to probably have a timing chain break and whack an intake valve. So I got the new cylinder head and a new timing chain, and I actually got what I think is a good timing chain. I didn't want to cheap out on that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull that jug and just make sure everything's alright with that piston. Make sure the guy, you know, got the clips in for the pin and everything. And then I was thinking about pulling the side cover off, because I think I might have to do that to get the new chain on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the jug and the side cover. We're going to check everything out, make sure it's okay, and then we'll get back to putting it together. Well, I got the jug pulled off and been checking it out. Sometimes sometimes piston rings can have a top and a bottom, and there's usually like a little dot like on the end of the ring. And you put the dots facing up, but these don't have dots, so I guess it doesn't matter which way they go. Looks like the oil control ring is intact, so I'll just set these set the ring gaps away from each other. The rod seems fine, there's no play in that. So that was my biggest worry. And I wanted to check and make sure the wrist pin was in there right, which I don't quite understand. It's got these little clips, and this wrist pin is able to slide around in there, but it doesn't come out. So I guess that's fine. I don't know. I did find one problem though, and it's pretty obvious. So here's the bottom of the jug, and the gasket is missing a piece right here. And I didn't order any gaskets. I should have, but I just didn't even think of it. The head gasket looked brand new, so I was like, I'll just put that back on. This gasket basically it would have ran okay, I think. It just would have leaked oil out of here while it was running, because the timing chain goes through here and it would have probably been slinging oil out. So that side cover was just held on by a bunch of Phillips headed screws, and a lot of them are different lengths, so if you wanted you could make like a cardboard box and kind of make this shape so you could put all your screws in that box so you keep them in order. So you had to break the seal loose because it's been silicone together. Alright guys, so I got the side cover off, which is a good thing I took it off because there's a bunch of old gasket on here and the guy siliconed it, so it probably would have started leaking. So I gotta clean that up. So you gotta take off this magneto or whatever to get at the timing chain. So I used a dampener puller for a car, and it's got the 3 bolt holes in there, so you need some long bolts. I don't even know what thread these are. I just was looking around and I found some that screwed in, but go and find some bolts. I think it's the same thread as the head bolt. So if you take one of those to the hardware store and get some like 6-inch long bolts that are the same thread as the head bolts, you should be good. But yeah, that popped it right off. It wasn't on there extremely tight. So let's get this off now. Alright, put that down. Now we got a key in here, so we're going to want to pop that out and not lose it. So, pops right out of there. Set that there, so we don't lose it. And then this thing just slides right off. I think that's for the starter. And there we are. We're at the lower gear for the timing chain. JB weld on this for some reason. Oh, I see, it's broken. Let's take this little washer off. It's all rusty for some reason. And then there's our timing gear. Now you're supposed to change the gears with the chain, but I'm not going to do that. The gears look fine. So you see this little arrow in here? That's the timing for, that's top dead center. So I'm gonna line that dot up with that arrow on the case. So I noticed that this timing chain is the same brand as the one I got at DID. So maybe it's already been replaced once. So maybe it broke, and that's what happened to that. It grinded it. And I gotta clean up all this dirt in here. There was some stuff in the oil, like I thought it was metal shavings, but I think it was plastic from these guides. It startled me, and there's a lot of dirt in here, honestly. Everything's dirty. Dirt in the bearings. So I'm gonna have to clean this up real good. I wonder if this got left open for a long time before it got put back together. Alright, I got the jug back on. You just have to be careful you don't like force those rings in, because you don't want to chip one, so you kind of have to use your fingers and kind of stuff them in there, if you know what I mean. So now I'm just going to find a screwdriver or a string or something I can use to fish that chain up through. And then I'm going to grab the cylinder head and pop that on. putting an aftermarket head on like me, it doesn't come with a new one of these for the cam. The little alignment pin. So pop that in there. This cam has a line in it right here, and it's only on one side. So you're going to want to make sure you put it on so you can see that line, because that's going to be your timing mark. So let's see if we can get this on here to keep it from falling down. Alright, I went ahead and put it on off camera because I had both hands in here. You wouldn't have been able to see what I was doing. So I thought it'd be easier just to show you afterwards. So you see that notch there on the cam perfectly lines up with that notch there on the top of the head casting. A little notch right there. You look down here and you see the dot on that crank gear perfectly lines up with that arrow on the case. So basically what I did was I had the chain on the upper pulley here, and I'd lined up the cam, and then I'd drop the cam pulley down to loosen the chain, and then I would line this up down here, the crank, and then put the chain on with this lined up, and then I would pop the cam back on. So it was a little finicky, not exactly straightforward, but it wasn't too bad. So I got both the tensioners back in, and alright, so I got all the head bolts started. I want to make sure I can make a full revolution without anything hitting before I go ahead and I'm gonna torque down these head bolts. The problem is, I looked all over the place online trying to find a torque spec on these, and there's many different answers, and a lot of them were pretty extreme, like torque these little bolts down to 40 foot-pounds plus 180 degrees. I almost guarantee that's gonna snap it. I mean, that would, in torque talk, that'd probably be like a lot, like more than what you torque the lug nuts to your car down, and these are just little, you know, maybe the equivalent of like a 5/16 bolt. So I think I'm just going to make up my own torque spec, and I'm just going to keep going up 5 pounds until it feels right. I'm going to start like 10, 15, 20, 25, and that might be about where I stop. It's not a big deal to change the head gasket in this, so I mean, if I have a problem down the road, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, because that whole like 40 foot-pounds plus 180 degrees seems a little extreme to me. Now you should replace the head bolts anytime you take the head off. So keep that in mind when you're doing yours, is you might want to get a new set of head bolts. Good. Alright, so I'm going to leave them there at 18 foot-pounds. Let's see how it goes. I'm just getting worried that they're going to snap, because I don't know what the real torque spec is. I did find one guy said 18. And to be honest, that feels about right, because I feel like much more than that, I feel like they're going to snap. Get some run time on it, get a few heat cycles, and then come back through and retorque the heads. So first we put on that little washer, and then we got our starter gear here. So I'll make this cleaned off, wipe the dirt off of it, like that. So the part that sticks out faces towards you. You can see this side's flat, this side goes out. This side goes in, so you put in like that. So put this on. Just make sure all the dirt's off of it. Okay, put this on. Now we can't forget our keyway. Where are you at? This looks like it's been beat on a little bit. Now we'll put the magnet back in there. So we got to make sure we line up our keyway with our key. There's a little gear here, and there's a washer. And I actually don't know if this washer goes on this side of the gear or it goes over here against this clip. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here. And I already put some, I pre-oiled this because I cleaned the holes out and I don't want to run it dry. So I put some oil in these holes that the ends go into. Okay. Dab of oil. Put a little oil on this to help protect that oil seal on this cover from ripping. When we put that back on, let's just go ahead and pop this back on. Oh yeah. Alright fellas, so I skipped ahead a little bit. I went ahead and put the timing cover on and the chain tensioner and finished torquing that down. So I got to set the valves in this head. And I'll show you how I did it. So basically you got this stud right here, and that can go up and down on a rocker. And you need to set the gap between the bottom of this stud here and the valve itself. So that gap right there. And there's usually a difference. So this one, I found some stuff online. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it sounded good to me. But I ended up going 3/1000ths on the intake, the side with the carburetor on it, and 5/1000ths on the exhaust. So basically you take a feeler gauge like this, see that one says 3/1000ths on it, and you want to set it to where this will fit in there in that gap, but with a slight drag to it, which this has. Just a slight drag. If you want to get real fancy, maybe you go the next size up and make sure that one don't fit. So yeah, you just do that on both sides. Now if you notice, this particular valve or rocker has this little square knob on top, and that's how you would hold it, but I don't have any kind of tool that fits on there. So all I did was I just used a set of pliers and I gripped onto that square piece and tightened down the jam nut, and that honestly held it good. So I got them tightened down and they stayed where I had them set. So I just want to say, before I fired this thing up, I pre-oiled the cam when I was adjusting the valve lash before I put those covers on, and I also pre-oiled the chain in here because you don't want to start anything up dry. So I went ahead and screwed the plastic on went to the hardware store and just got a bunch of matching bolts. Once I figured out what thread it was, found the spark plug for it and put that in. You know, just went ahead and put all the little covers and stuff on, finished it up. So I don't have a battery yet, so I got the battery out of my Jeep over here and just kind of wired it up like this, see if I could get it to start. Oh, we're dripping gas already. Turn this off. Dripping gas. Probably the float or the needle in the float is sealed up completely. My blaster does the same thing. So anyway, I put some gas in it and let's hit the button and see what happens. Switch that to run. Fired right up. Any lights. Guy told me the lights work. I drove it around a little bit. All the gears and everything work, has reverse, but I couldn't drive it around long because it was so loud without a muffler. So I went to Tractor Supply and I picked up a muffler for a tractor. I think you would probably see this sitting on a tractor like that, but honestly it looks pretty similar to a tractor muffler or a four-wheeler muffler. It's like a straight through design. You can see all those little things catch the exhaust, and it has probably some type of packing in it to quiet it down. So I slipped it on there and fired it up, and it does quiet it down pretty good. So I just now need to figure out a way to attach this so I can take it for a longer test drive. So I found this clamp at the parts store. I don't know what it's for. Probably, I don't know. But it looks like it's about the right size to fit. And this muffler already had the slots cut in it, so I think if I tighten it down right on these slots, it might squish it together and hold it on. It might leak a little bit, but you know, I guess that's fine if it leaks a little. Alright, so that's the muffler installed. I found a piece of metal. I scrapped piece of metal I must have saved off some other project. It's a nice thick strap here. And then I bolted it up, ran it down, welded it to the side of the muffler, and it's rock solid, ain't going anywhere. And I have just enough clearance on either side. I mean, it's real close to that bar, but it's not touching. And this isn't like a car where this engine's gonna rock around. It's solidly mounted to the frame, so I shouldn't have any problems. I got the front all cinched down, and that's nice and tight. So I don't think that muffler's going anywhere. I loosened up the two bolts that hold the downpipe or exhaust on the head. I'm going to tighten those back up. and then put that gas tank cover back on, get this thing all buttoned up. I still have to get a battery for it, and then we'll take it for a ride. So in summary, I paid $550 for it. I got about $750 total if you include all the parts I bought. And I think it's going to be a good runner. I think from what I've been seeing online around where I live, this would probably be worth more like $1,500 now, so I could sell it and double my money. But you know, there is a certain amount of luck that goes into these kind of jobs. If there would have been something wrong in the bottom end, you know, now it might not be so profitable to do. Although I'm not trying to sell this, I think I'm going to try to get my wife to ride around with me because I got this blaster here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.